Here's how easy it is to enable and why I think every author should be using it. X-ray is a Kindle feature that allows authors to add custom definitions in their books when a reader highlights a specific word or phrase. It's kind of a little known feature that I don't see a lot of authors utilizing, but as a reader, I think it's really awesome. It's essentially a more convenient way to access a book's appendix while you're reading. Here's how it looks in the Kindle app, but it's very similar on Kindle e-readers. When I highlight a word or phrase that I've added to my book's X-ray content, it will pop up with my custom definition. As you can see, this is a really great tool for both fiction and nonfiction writers, as you have complete control over the entries and definitions, and you can even add in author's commentary if you want. If you're reading an ebook, whether that's on the Kindle app or an e-reader, it takes a minimum of 5 clicks to get to the appendix or pronunciation guide in the back of a book using the navigation menu. That's kind of annoying, especially if you have to do that multiple times for a book with lots of custom definitions. On the other hand, if you enable X-ray, all of that information is just 1 click away. Just press and hold on the single word that you want information about, and it will pop up right on the screen. And you can include anything you like, from pronunciation to the appendix information and even author's commentary. This provides a richer and more convenient reading experience for the reader, with no extra cost to you except for a bit of your time. Enabling X-ray is very simple. Just go to your KDP bookshelf, click the 3 dots next to your book, and then click Add X-ray. KDP will then automatically create a list of things you might want to include, and it will also add entries from Wikipedia where possible. Nothing will actually be published from selecting this. You will still have to manually review each entry and double confirm that you want to publish it before anything is added to your actual book. This process can take a few hours, but you'll get an email when it's finished and you can start editing and creating your content. So for my 120,000 word fantasy novel, I had a little over 70 entries that I wanted to include, and this really only took me a couple of hours to set up. The majority of books will likely have much fewer entries than this, and you can spread this work out over as much time as you would like. Once that process is done and you open up X-ray, you'll see on the left-hand side there's going to be a list of different words and phrases that you might want to add definitions to. It's not totally clear to me, but I believe these are added based on capitalization, as it missed a lot of my made-up fantasy words that were not capitalized. And each of these items can be excluded if it has automatically added things you don't want to include definitions for. First, it'll have you select if this item is a character or a term, and then you can add or combine alternate usages and spellings, as well as select your item's display name. Then below that, you can add the custom definition for this entry, and then when you're done, just select Item Reviewed. Once you've added and edited all of your entries, you can then click Review and Publish X-ray, after which you'll have the chance to review it all one more time before selecting that you want to publish it. And thankfully, there is a very helpful click-through tutorial that will give you more information on how to set all of this up. You don't have to add all of your entries at one time either. You can do some of them and publish them right away, and then come back at a later time to add more. Here's how I check if my X-ray content is working properly, because you can run into some issues. After publishing your X-ray content, go ahead and pull up your final manuscript file on your computer, and then the actual ebook on a phone or tablet. So then just use the search function on your manuscript for each of the entries. Basically, this is just to double check that the amount of times a word or phrase is actually in your manuscript is how many times X-ray also indexed it. And then if you decide to make changes or update your X-ray content, you'll need to remove the download of the file of your ebook from your e-reader or app, and then re-download it to see the updates that you've made. Updates to X-ray were made rather quickly for me. They were all up within a few minutes. You'll want to make sure to include all versions of an entry under the alternate usage and spelling section, including things like different capitalizations, as well as anything with a dash before or after it directly. Also, make sure to include plurals of unfamiliar words. It doesn't always catch these. One issue I did run into is I had 2 characters in my book that were referred to as the same title, Captain. So initially they were cataloged under the same X-ray entry. If you can, I did find a way to get around this, but it's not always going to be an option. So for one character, you could just use Captain, and for the other, use Captain Name. And this will make X-ray see Captain Name as a whole phrase. So whenever Captain is followed by the name, it won't show up under the other entry. Though this is not always going to be possible, so you can also just stick with their names and then add their title in the description. X-ray has a tendency to crash pretty frequently, so make sure you are saving as you go and also keeping all of your definitions saved locally so that you don't lose progress. I have lost progress. The X-ray interface also times out very quickly, so make sure you don't just leave it open without editing anything for very long at all. If you have not finished your book yet, it would be really great to, as you're doing the final proofread, kind of keep a running list of all the things you want to add definitions to. And of course, you don't have to include everything, especially if context makes it clear or it's not that important to the plot. And you can always come back and update the X-ray content later. If you're a fan of fantasy adventures with sarcastic main characters, you might want to check out Revenge of the Druid Queen, which I published recently. Alright, that's all I got for you, so thanks for watching. Bye!